Yo, it's your boy Double H, half to that hope, man. Coming at you here for another episode of the look.
We don't have a name. We still don't have a name.
Look, man, I think we should call it Beats and Bars, man. But that's for a different discussion. Last week we did what we consider the best rap album of all time, one of the best albums of all time in Illmatic. So we thought, let's bring in Nas's best mate, Jay-Z, into the mix.
This is DT's suggestion.
Yeah. So basically, what we're gonna do every week is one of the hosts is gonna pick one album. So we started off with Illmatic, but this week I've decided for like my pick this week is going to be Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt. So
one question though, like for all the people listening, man, we got love for the South. We got love for the South. We got love for the West Coast. We're not just East Coast centric. So
right. You know, I was torn because I had Lil Wayne Carter 3 in my mind. I had Commons B in my mind. I had Reasonable Doubt. I was thinking AT as well. So we're definitely going to get to all of those.
No, come on, for sure. Like, that is a bloody amazing. But look, let's keep
Loki. AT Aliens came out the same year as Reasonable Doubt did in 1996.
Yeah, 96. Yeah.
And I would say in 1996, people probably thought AT Aliens was better than Reasonable Doubt.
Look, guys, chill. We will deal with AT Aliens when we deal with them. Let's keep the South. You know, we'll trust me. We have love for the South, but right now it's about Jigga Man's debut album, 1996. Your boy Carter, Sean Carter, Reasonable Doubts. So the way we're going to kick things off, I just think, first impression, first general impression. So I'll kick things off and then you guys can follow thy leader. For me, my first impressions was, wow, this is the introduction of a highly skilled rapper who has a flow that we've never really heard before. And I think the introduction to just his skill level, his wordplay, and how he skillfully dances along the words, and how he very smoothly connects the syllables just so intricately and so effortlessly, was something we'd never seen before. So I just think that was just my first impression. And I think, again, we'll talk about the album a bit deeper and maybe a whole debate about the whole thing. But I think the thing that stood out more than anything was Jay-Z, the skillful rapper, and the skill of this guy. Whereas in Illmatic was, my gosh, we're just looking at that amazing product of production, rapping, content, and everything came together as one. I think the thing that just stood head and shoulders above the production, above the content, above anything was, wow, this guy is very skilled at rapping. And we've not really seen a guy with this particular kind of rapping style and the way that he's utilizing this particular rapping style. So that was just the thing that jumped out at me as my first impression.
Tosin, what do you think?
Yeah, man. Like we was talking about it last week. Like, what is a classic? And what I really wanted to say was a classic has to encapsulate like the essence of an artist. Reasonable Doubt is the essence of Sean Carter. Okay, a dude who was at that point in his life, 1 foot out of the door with the street life. This was an album that was 26 years in the making. We got tales on the drug game, tales on human relationships, like the inner machinations of secret societies too. He touches on a lot of things in this album that are just so grandiose, so big. And like Killer Mike said, this album it's Shakespearean, it's especially for a person who's like who's in the street life, because I've heard a lot of people like from the so-called street life, they say this is Reasonable Doubt is the hip-hop Bible for every street nigga. Like that's what they look at Reasonable Doubt as, from just Can't Knock the Hustle. We'll get into the records later, but from Can't Knock the Hustle to The Evils to Feeling It, the highs and the lows of the street life, and then him just relating that to different mafioso movies like Scarface, The Godfather. A lot of mafioso references on here. It's really dope.
When you See, it's interesting when you listen to records, and I think we'll probably come to this a lot the more we do this podcast. This wasn't the first thing I heard of Jay-Z. It's not like we were all born in 1980 and we were listening to 1996 records as we were 16, 17. Like, these are records that we've gone back to off the strength of recommendations from people, or just you hear Jay-Z does, Hard Knock Life or whatever, and you go back and listen to it. So when I listened to it for the first time, I had the expectation of this is going to be great because everybody's telling me this is a great album. You need to go back and listen to Jay-Z's first record. You heard Reasonable Doubt? Nah, go listen to it. One of those. So when you go back and listen to it and you just hear, especially when, like, I think we got a glimpse of the kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? The kind of introspective Jay-Z in like 444. You got a glimpse of it in American Gangster because that's a concept album. But all the other kind of records, if you're looking at, the In My Lifetime volumes and Blueprint, it's a little there. Black Album, it's a little there, but that was obviously his retirement album. But when you go back and listen to this and he's giving you his life, as you say, he's 26, which is kind of old for a debut. Nas gave us his debut at 1920. So this guy has 6 more years on top of that. And like, if you listen to the story, this guy was, I don't know if he was a major drug dealer, but he was a big enough drug dealer to where he had enough stories to tell.
He was living lavish.
Yeah. He's like, there's a bar. I'm still spending money from 88. This is 96. Yep. So he has money stacked up for at least 8 years, So going back and listening to it and experiencing the Jay-Z that wasn't in the mainstream when I first went back to it, that's the first thing that stands out to my mind. Like, so this isn't the guy on the big pimping boat with all the women with Pimp C just rapping on the boat. Like, this isn't this guy actually lived a life and he encapsulated that life in his first album. So that's that interesting dynamic, I think, for me anyway.
No, I think I want to just quickly expand upon, I mean, before we get into, just expand upon a bit on what Danny was saying, is that for me, this is why I feel that personally, for me, this is my favorite album of Jay-Z's. I think if I'm going to be objective, probably the best album is Blueprint, but my personal favorite is this one. And I think my issue with Jay-Z, which is why I've always preferred Nas, is Jay-Z just like he was always a bit too braggadocious in his raps, and it's almost a bit, oh man, look at how cool I am, look at how much I'm basically showing off, and that was always his mentality after this. But this is an album in which he was telling a story, he had a point to make, and he was really hungry. So he didn't even have the whole thing of like, look at how good I am, look how arrogant I am. I know I have to prove myself, I have to show how good I am, and let me actually get into and give you somewhat of a idea and tell you a kind of a story, because I still have to prove myself. After this was done, because it was such a huge, amazing debut and so successful, you never really got the same hunger that you saw in this album in the subsequent albums. You do not have that same hunger.
It's like a concept album, but the concept is his actual life. So he's telling a story, but the story's real and the story's him. It's not like how Kendrick Lamar will jump into someone's body, or how Nas will jump into someone's body and tell a story from their point of view. Like the person whose body they're jumping into is like, oh, Nas, well done. J. Cole, well done. You're able to see from other people's perspectives. Jay-Z is giving you his perspective, his lived experience. In a way that, as you say, like I think just as when rap went into like that 98, 99, 2000 up until someone could argue today, like people aren't really for that introspective stuff. Like, like people want to see ass shaking and XYZ. Like we aren't really here to hear like tales in that way. So Jay-Z's first album is that tale, is that,
a lot of storytelling on this.
Yeah.
Well, I think for me, that's why, like, my only hope is that I wish that he maybe carried on a bit more in this vein. But I suppose, as you said, if I've already told my story, So now let me just get on to some other kind of content and everything, since the story has already been told. An argument can be made that you can always expand on these stories in different other creative ways. But again,
this is the interesting thing, though. Like when Nas is telling the story from just some random person he's made up, he can say whatever he wants because it's not a real life story. If Jay-Z comes on and tells the real life stories of things that happened that he was doing 3, 4, 5 years ago, that's self-incrimination. Like if he actually was the big drug dealer that he says he was, and many people can vouch that he was, he can only say but so much about his actual life.
True. Oh, yeah.
So it's not like he can keep giving you tidbits of the drug game, not necessarily, because you're still in 1990 New York. You say too much, you could be gone, you could be out, you could be in prison. Anything could happen. So I think we do have to keep that in mind, that if he's telling the truth.
Yeah. Okay, so look, man, let's get right into it, man. So now, first record, Can't Knock the Hustle. Now, you guys, I think it was Danny, you mentioned that you had like the Hard Knock Life and all that kind of stuff. Then you came to Reasonable Doubt.
Well, no, that's I heard Hard Knock Life before I heard Reasonable Doubt. That's my point. My first exposure to Jay-Z was probably Kingdom Come. And in terms of like the first album that I bought, because I think that was 2007. But like that's the first Jay-Z album I bought. 99 Problems, Dirt Off Your Shoulder, like Black Album, Blueprint classics. But from that kind of Hard Knock Life up until Kingdom Come, that was my exposure until like the internet came off, and then you were able to like kind of go back and pick up what happened in the 90s.
So Tosi, what was your first exposure to Jay-Z then?
Oh, yeah, first exposure to the Jigga Man.
It sounds like some kind of like Boogie Monster.
Yeah. I was going to say like first to the Boogie Man sounds like some pedophilic type shit. I was like, hey,
what was your first exposure?
Relax. But I would say around middle school, I was listening to. No, elementary school when Crazy in Love came out with B. That was the first time I ever heard Jay. And then after that, I would say like the first album that I really picked up on was the 99 Problems video, because I remember that came out just around the same time, well, maybe in the space of a year that Kanye's Jesus Walks came out. So it was around that same time frame, I felt.
Yeah, like
over the 0304, yeah. So that's the Black album, I would say, was my first exposure to Jay. Like,
I think this now shows like our age day difference. Again, I don't want to reveal my age, but look, I just think because I'm a little bit older than you guys, because my first exposure, and I'm not sure whether I was either in Nigeria or England, but because we used to watch loads of music videos, because this was when MTV actually showed music videos back in the day. Shocking, I know. But the video that my first exposure to Jay-Z was the Can't Knock the Hustle music video.
Wow.
I don't know if you remember thinking that, oh wow, like this is first of all a pretty cool music video, just a very good like visual concept for a music video. And just that bass groove and everything. And because you see, it felt like an R&B track, but with a rapper singing over it. It didn't seem like a rap track. So it almost seemed as if Mary J. Blige, I think at first I thought it was Mary J. Blige's song and Jay-Z was featuring on it. Because it feels like an R&B song. It doesn't feel like a rap song. So already from that, and I think once you start your album like that, that's already gives you a certain vibe of like, okay, I may be talking about hustling and everything, but I'm giving it to you in a more suave, sophisticated, refined kind of way because of the kind of R&B tapestry.
I think we have to mention before even the music.
That video though.
Amazing.
Go ahead. It's really, it's kind of like, it's very cinematic, just
iconic.
When you look at the album cover, he has the same outfit almost, I would say. All black. The movie, the video shot in black and white. He's got the fedora cap. He's got the fedora hat on. Yeah, I think he's with his girl. You could tell that he took a lot of inspiration off of those movies the movies that were coming out around the time, like the Goodfellas, the Casinos, the Scarfaces, those types of movies. And he just wanted to remember how the album opens up. It opens up with a heartbeat and someone doing that. Hey, that. Like, I don't want to do the accent, but that was from Scarface. Like that opening line, that's from Scarface. But it's customized though because they say with Jay-Z, they use Jay-Z's name in it. So
yeah, because he's like,
really
hey, Big Man, so you want to big bucks, huh? Yeah, tough y'all. Something about cocaine. And Chico, if anything happens to buy money, prosito. I can't speak Italian. I was Jay-Z's gonna stick your head so far. No, Jay-Z's gonna stick your head up your
so
ass,
far your ass.
and the rabbit gets fucked. And then the album starts, and that's what I wanted to mention as well. Is like, even before we get into the music, Jay-Z setting this up as a mob movie, which can lead us even before we talked about music once again, about just mafioso rap. About this comes out the same year as it was written. It comes out the year after Only Built for Cuban Links. Like
Do or
this
Die.
is the Do or Die in '95 as well, from AZ. This comes out in the heart of the mafioso rap epidemic, if we want to call it that, So, and this is, I don't know if it's the best. I would probably still put Only Built for Cuban Links above this one, but it's not better than it's better than it was written. Whether it's better than Do or Die, we'll get there eventually. But I think
it's not better than Do or Die. It's not.
I don't know.
I'll already end that for you now. So.
I'm gonna save our Do or Die comments for when we do it. But yeah, I think it's very important to mention that kind of mafioso, kind of drug cartel, racketeering type shit.
Yeah, so I mean, no, because I think again, because your opening track is very, very important because it sets the tone. Now, some albums may have a particularly strong opening track and the other tracks may not be as strong as the opening track, or maybe the opening track will have a certain vibe and the rest of the tracks don't have the same vibe as it. That doesn't matter. At the end of the day, as again we discussed it with Illmatic, track listing and the ordering of tracks is hugely important, as in starting with this, because basically it sets the tone as to what kind of vibe that Jay-Z was going for. And I know that it was a very, very important decision to put this at number one. Because again, most, like let's say a rapper has like a top track, similar to what DJs will say. DJs will always say, never play your best track first. Or you always want people to build up to your really big single track, which is mostly track 3, 4, or maybe 5, But you would argue, because I believe this was the first single he released, you would argue, even if I don't think this is the best. Yeah, okay, the second. But basically, this is 100% one of the best songs on the album, 100%. So,
I agree.
What he says in this and how he says it, I think it was the right decision to make this the opening track. Because
do you guys know the story behind this album?
I would say though.
Go ahead, Tosin.
This record, Can't Knock the Hustle. I remember he was doing an interview on it, and he says that most people on first listen when they hear the song. When they see the title track, they're like, they think of the classic adage, you can't knock my hustle. But Jay said that hustling was his life, but music was his hustle. So right here in this record, he's really talking about the music. And when he's saying hustling was his life, music was his hustle, by the commutative law in mathematics, music at that point, became his life. It was his hustle, but it was also his life at the end of the day. And honestly, the first time I heard this record, man, I just smiled. This is it's the first impression I got, because I think there was a line where Jehovah shop is freeze, cop in 3, Deuce Fever, yes, is fully loaded. Yes. Bouncing in the Lex Luger, tires smoke like Buddha, 50 G's to the crap shooter. Niggas can't fade me. Crow stocks beaming. Through my peripheral, I see you scheming. Stop dreaming, I leave your body steaming. Niggas is fiending, what's the meaning? I'm leaning on any nigga intervening with the sound of my money machining. I was just like, what? This dude is cold. This dude is cold. It sounds like a movie. He's talking about 50 G's to the crap shooter. You think you're in Vegas. The dealers out there handing out chips and stuff. You feel like you're in a movie. Those are the best rappers, like I said last week. The best rappers are the ones who can make you visualize. They spit movies. And that's what this record was. This is a seminal record of the 90s for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, so let's move. Unless Danny, you have anything more on
No,
camera?
I was just gonna say like one of my favorite lines of Jay-Z where he's like, "Can a nigga see me? Got the U.S. Open advantage, jigga, serve like Sanford, play big raps like a campus." I was just like, just those U.S. Open advantage, jigga, especially like me, like I love sports. So like when he says U.S. Open advantage, jigga, serve like Sampras, whenever you weave in like a sports metaphor or a sports simile or whatever, like I'm always a sucker for that. So I just want to mention that. But also, well, I do want to mention something that Tosin said quickly before we move on to politics as usual. This was supposed to be Jay-Z's only album. Like his goal, because everyone was telling him like, "Yo, you're a great rapper. You should put out an album." Because he's been rapping since '93, never put out an album, or probably '92, or whatever the case may be. So his plan was really put out one album, get people to stop telling me to put out the album, and then just become like the CEO of Rockefeller Records or whatever the case may be, and that way people will stop telling me to put out music. So back to Tosin's point, when it's can't knock the hustle, he's telling people like, yo, my hustle is rap. So don't knock me for trying it or doing what I'm doing. Like this is going to be my one album and that's going to be that. And then that gets a bit confusing because then I think 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, he puts out an album. So I don't know how long that plan lasted.
For 5 years straight.
Yeah.
No, six, 7. Bro, Jay dropped the album every year.
Exactly. That's why he
was lying pretty much.
Yeah. But
all right, okay, so
that's probably important to mention.
All right, let's move to track 2, politics as usual.
All right. Okay, go
ahead. Okay, let me throw something in, and maybe you guys will scream at me. Not a fan of the track.
What?
Wow.
Now let me land. Now, it is. I'm not going to say it's a bad track, but I'm just not a fan of it. I think coming off the back of Can't Knock the Hustle, when you go to politics as usual, it's like, okay, it's good, but it just basically it doesn't jump out at me. Again, and this will be a very similar thing that I have with this album is great rapping. Production is, production was cool. Some amazingly well-produced tracks, but overall, the production is not something I would say was a glowing attribute of this. Basically, Jay-Z's rapping outperformed the production on it. And I think with politics as usual, again, what is still the thing that's being maintained is how good this guy is at rapping and his skill. But just as far as the song goes, it just didn't jump out at me.
You tripping. that beat is cold. Like it has kind of like the same, I don't know, twangy, sour chords as like Represent in my mind. Just that kind of, I don't know what that piano is. But then you marry that with like the synths. I don't know. There's just something about that song that's just like it's dope. And for you to say like you don't like the beat,
no. Look again, because trust me, we have to be honest here. So we have to be.
Yeah. Like if that's your truth, that's your truth. But I'm just saying I don't agree with the premise.
It's a track that adds skip. Well,
what?
So,
Not pop, man. You tripping? Bro. This record, okay, I'll admit this. The first time I ever heard Reasonable Doubt, when I was like 12, 13, I skipped this record. I never liked this record for some reason. But when I revisited it, and just the fact that, I make beats myself, I was just like, yo, the way he flipped this, like Ski Beats, the way Ski Beats flipped this, because this record, when I went to like, we were doing a July 4th barbecue at 3-4 years ago, and one of the persons at my church, who's like the choir leader at my church, he's into soul music from the 60s, 70s, and he played this record called The Stylistics, Hurry Up This Way Again. Hurry up this way again. So when I heard that, I was like, yo, I think I've heard this before. I've heard this record before. And then I come out, it's Politics as Usual that sampled it. So when I listen to it again, it's just like, man, like this record is cold. Like, and you hear like some of the bars Jay-Z was saying, like I think he was like My life is based on sacrifices, jewels like ISIS and fools that think that I slip. You fuck around, you get your guys hit. They built me to be filthy on some I do or die shit. So he's still talking about the streets, but just the way that record goes, it's like the instrumental. It's as if like it's as if like it's a dealer at a drug meet. You know what I'm saying? Like it sounds weird, but that's just how the instrumental just fits it perfectly.
The little twinkle in the production thingy like that keeps on coming in. It just didn't work for me. It didn't. It worked. I mean, because again, I just coming off kind of thoughts, which is such a bloody good track, production wise, the hook, the rapping, everything. To go from this, it just feels like a little bit of like a little dip. Like it's still decent, but you see, for me, if again back to our ongoing theme, track listing, I would have pushed this down. I would have moved this maybe down to maybe track 12, that's maybe track 11 or 12 when it trying to basically like end it with. See, this is a 11-12 track. This is not a track 2. You can't put it as track 2.
I can see that point. I can see like if you're trying to wind down the album, you could put this track lower if you wanted.
Yeah.
But like again, like my favorite line was like, "Ain't no stopping the champagne from popping the drawers and dropping the law from watching."
Pusha used that on the games we play like last year on the Daytona album. So yeah, he interpolated that. Yeah, that's dope.
All right. So I mean, Danny, any more on politics as usual or?
Nah, I think it's a solid track. Like if I had to rate it out of like 5, I'd give it a 4.
Okay. All right, now a little bit of a story that I have on this Brooklyn's Finest that I got from the Joe Budden podcast. Now,
I really like this record, by the way.
What? Hey, we'll get to it. Easy, Trent. Guys, just relax. Don't get knives. Now, basically, a story that I heard was Jay-Z wrote his verse pretty quick, and it took Biggie a few days to write his own verse.
Weeks, bro, not days.
Okay, 9 days. But basically, Joe Budden said that as a rapper, it makes a big impression if you take longer than me to write your verse and your verse isn't as good as mine. That means something. And I don't understand where he's coming from. And again, Biggie has done some of the most ridiculous verses ever. But I feel that Jay-Z's was stronger than him. Now, based on the track, that was just a little bit of story. Based on the track, you see, let me be real with you. Let me be fully honest here. First of all, I'm not sure this was mixed very well. It just seems as if Jay-Z or the sound just seems a bit too low, but the mixing just don't seem as clear and as crisp as the first one. So that was a bit of an issue with me. If you tell me that in 1996, Jay-Z and Biggie are going to be on a track, I expected better. I expected better. Like for I just
beat, like all praise to like Kent Clark, who I think was the producer on this, or Clark Kent. Sorry,
Clark Kent went off.
I don't like this beat at all. Like maybe maybe in '96 it sounded great. So maybe I'm listening to this with like 2 new ears or 2 old ears, however you want to define that. But it sounds like, I don't know, just like some cheap, I don't know, Fruity Loop type shit that people would make today. I and it ruins the whole experience for me.
Way too much is going on. Before
we were going to do this podcast, before you told me we were going to do Reasonable Doubt, one of the talking points that I really wanted us to get into was who spazzed more on this, Jay or Big? And now we can't do it because you say it's trash.
No. I'm not saying it's trash. I'm just saying I don't like it. That doesn't mean
no. It's not crap, but
it's not bad. I just don't like it because look, we have Dead Presidents following this. We have Feeling It following this. We have The Evils following this. We have Can I Live following this. Like, this isn't up to par. And I like Politics as Usual better than this song. So we have like 4 bona fide hip hop classics after this. Maybe even you could count like 22 twos in that if you wanted. But
we are gonna get there. We are gonna get there because I have.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say something about that. I'm going to say something about that. But
this track isn't on par with those.
Okay, sorry. Let me. Sorry.
I find myself wanting to skip this to get to Dead Presidents.
Wow.
Wait. The issue is this. Let me just very briefly. The issue is this: is that it's because again you said okay, who spoused that more and everything. Like, there's no question. Easily, Jay-Z had. It's not even up to question, which was the issue because everybody knows that when Biggie is on it, people can argue that he's the greatest rapper of all time based on flow and skill level. That Biggie is the best. When Biggie is in his bag, nobody can touch him. And for me, I don't know whether it was just the beat, the time it took. This just was not Biggie at his peak and at his very best. Like Jay-Z was on form here. Biggie just wasn't on form here, and it just felt. I don't know what you know what? Because this, trust me, and this is something that is very important. It doesn't matter how great of a rapper you are. The beat is critical and crucial. An amazing rapper won't make an amazing song out of a average beat or a bad beat. And I think if you're telling me, if let's say I'm a producer and Jay-Z and Biggie are coming onto a song, I'm giving them a Dead President's beat. I'm giving them a The Evil's beat where it's not about me. It's about these two guys. So let's stop with all of this crazy stuff that's happening in the background. Let my beats be effective, strong, but basically I'm putting in a DJ Premier kind of hat when I'm doing the beats where the beat is there, but it's there to serve the rappers. When I'm listening to this, I'm like, okay, he's rapping. Wait, what's that song? It's just too much happening.
Biggie got off though, like Crystal Forever.
So be real. Is that one of Biggie's top verses? Come on, be real.
No, but this is just like I look at this record like MJ Kobe, like Ronaldinho versus Neymar for the football fans out here. It's just two dudes just going at it, master and apprentice. That's what it is, man. I can't believe y'all right now. I'm speechless. All right. You got the two best Brooklyn MCs. You got the top Brooklyn DJ. This is Brooklyn's finest. What y'all talking about?
What does that mean, though? Like, you're just giving me the stats. It's cool.
Look, man, they have bars, bro.
About the actual execution. It's like
Biggie had bars though, like the Mafia keep cannons and they Mark Buchanan's. Usually 4-5, the shell sinks slow, tossing you mad slugs through your Nautica.
It wasn't as sharp and wasn't as concise as we know Biggie can be. I don't know whether that was for Biggie not really vibing with the production or the production itself. We know Biggie. When Biggie is on it, he will dismember a track when he wants to.
When Clark Kent made this beat for Jay, Biggie said, because the story behind this is like Jay had this beat ready. He was gonna call it The Nice Guy or something like that. I can't remember what he was gonna call it. Some No More Mr. Nice Guy, something like that. And then Biggie, he wanted this beat, like, because he told Clark Kent, "Yo, give me this beat. I want this beat." But they said that, "Oh no, it's for Jay." So Jay and Big, they meet in the same studio session, and Jay knocks out the verse in like 5 minutes, and Big's just like, they're awestruck. He's like, he ain't write nothing. Like, what's going on? Like, this dude ain't write nothing. Like how did he just spit that in 5 minutes? Like, he just did all this in 5 minutes. And then that's how you went to the whole story that you talked about. They went to the that Big went for a couple of days, couple weeks to get his own verses done. But it's fine though. Like, that's the difference maybe, because like last week we were talking about AZ's Life's a Bitch and how AZ did that in like the spur of the moment, and we call that arguably the greatest feature verse of all time. And then Biggie takes weeks, and then you guys, according to y'all think his performance wasn't that good. It's crazy how things turn out, but. Let's move on.
All right, okay. Let's move on.
Can we talk about their presidents, please?
Okay, look. I think we can all agree that this not only is the best track on this album, and arguments can be said. I don't all of you Jay-Z fanboys out there with your bloody take all of the tracks. This right here, an argument can be made that this is Jay-Z's best ever rap track that he's ever made. Because again, iconic line that Nas, because even when Nas said the line on Illmatic, I say, yeah, man, yeah, that's quite a powerful line actually. From that line looping, and again, so this now speaks to product, and even you as a producer should even know this. And this now is what I thought was an issue that I had with Brookings Finance, and even to a degree, politics as usual. Baseline, beats, the kick. It's easy, it's simple, it's effective, and I'm just giving the foundation and the platform for the rapper to perform. I'm not here to try and overperform the rapper. I'm not here to try and show how good of a producer I am with all the different bells and whistles I have. My rap is there, and the fact about it is that because the production is minimal, there's still enough there for you to be like, damn man, that bloody bass line, that bloody groove, that bloody kick, that bloody beats and everything. And it just makes it so easy. It makes it easy for the rapper to show himself, and it just overall comes together as what is a very strong track. And yeah, just like when I just hear this, first of all, how it starts, how Jay-Z raps on it is just a bloody amazing track. Basically, it's a perfect marriage of beats and rapping.
Exactly. Like, this is the thing with Jay-Z. You don't need an overly complicated beat. Especially 1996 Jay-Z, who was coming with that triple rhyme, ippity dippity whippity ippity. Like, he's going to say so many words and use his voice in a way where if you have two things that are complicated going off each other, it's just going to sound like a mess, which is a little bit of my problem with Brooklyn's Finest. This Ski made the beat so simple. He flipped the sample, A Garden of Peace. I'm forgetting the guy's name. But that sample, Lonnie Liston Smith, like the way he flipped the sample and just took the beat, and it's just so, it's calming, and it lets Jay-Z just tell the story that he needs to tell. And this is, I think, like our first real introspective Jay-Z song, really. Maybe you could argue maybe you could argue Can't Knock the Hustle is giving you a story, but this is like, oh, so Jay-Z really is a drug dealer, huh? Like this is, and then he's going through the stories of, you know, what happened. So, and also I thought it's really interesting where he comes up like, to the death of us, me and my confidants, we shine, y'all feel the ambiance, y'all niggas just rhyme. So it's basically like, yo, all you people who are just on this mafioso wave, like, let me tell you some real shit that happened to me, not just some shit I'm making up.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
By the ounce, though, accumulates like snow. We don't just shine; we illuminate the whole show. You feel me? Fashions for the other side would love to kill me. Spill 3 quarts of my blood into the street. Let alone the heat. The police, like,
more.
Fuck them. They hated the nigga, loving his life in all possible ways. No, the feds is bugging my life. Hospital days reflected with my man laid up on the Uptown High Block. He got his size, bro. Like this is
that is so real. That's just like, bro. I'm getting hype right now. Like, yo.
Like this is one of the first verses, along with the Nas verses. Like when I was like, I need to memorize this. The same way you have people who are probably in the mosque or in their church or synagogue, like they're trying to memorize like passage, surah, this, Matthew chapter 4, verse 9, like whatever. I was like, I heard this. I was like, I need to memorize that verse.
Okay, wait, but let's talk about this though. This is gonna be okay. So when I first heard this album, and then my subsequent listenings of this album back then, was this out of pocket? So what I would do is I would delete this record, and I would play Dead Presidents 1, and I would put Dead Presidents 1 into my iPod.
You would delete the record though. You wouldn't just add. 2. You see, like what I would do, I would maybe add like Dead Presidents as an additional track or something like that. But you don't delete Dead Presidents 2 because Dead Presidents 1 is better to you.
That's what I used to do, though.
That's sacrilege.
That's quite psychotic.
You could just add the track, is it? Or maybe if you had, one of them old MP3 players that had like 1 gig, so you didn't have any space, maybe you could get rid of it that way. Yeah, but nah, like, that was bad.
The more I listen though, 2 is better. 2 is more. Better. It is. It's more. It's just so visceral. Like it's
when he was like, when when Jay said, "I saw his life slipping. This is a minor setback. You're still in all we live in. Just dream about the get back." That made him smile, though his eyes said, "Pray for me. I do you one better and slay these niggas faithfully. Murder is a tough thing to digest. It's a slow process, but I ain't got nothing but time." I was just like, yo, like he's giving you. So one of my homies is dead, but I'm dreaming about the get back. Like I will make this right for you. Yeah.
I had near brushes, not to meshes, 3 shots, close range, never touched me, divine intervention. Can't stop
from drinking my tots with tots. He said that, and
again, showing the level of the rapper.
I dab in a crazy way without rap. I was crazy straight.
So he's telling y'all, like, there's this record too, because you were talking about American Gangster. Like, bro, obviously this isn't the album, but I've always felt that American Gangster was like the sequel to Reasonable Doubt, because like there was remember that record Rock Boys, where he's like let your hair down, baby, I just hit a score, pick any place on the planet, pick a shore, take what the Forbes figured and figure more, because they forgot to account what I did with the raw, you know. Like he's letting y'all know, like he's letting people know from jump, like before rap I was the man in these streets. I was the man in these streets. Like, bro, there were I read stories, I think in his book Decoded, his autobiography, and he was talking about he would go into clubs, and the nice thing, like he would just tip the waiter. He would tip the waiter. He would tip, the bouncers in the club. Like he was the man in Brooklyn. People knew who Jay was before he started, like, becoming the rapper that we know of him as today.
No, but like in this very song where he goes, "Don't get it correct. This shit is perfected from chips to chicks to stripping in the Lexuses," or some shit like that. Like that, Jay in his Lexus, like he had apparently he loved Lexuses, and he was driving like the white Lexus with the TVs in it before he was a rapper. So how is this guy getting money? First off, have we even talked about how this record came out? Like Rockefeller Records, the concept about how everyone who featured and produced on this album was paid in basically straight cash, homie.
Yep.
Like nobody got checks. People just got bales of cash. Like, where was this money coming from?
Kevin talked about it. Like, Jay never wanted any handouts. He would say, "Do this for me, I'll pay you for it." Everything. Bro, I think they did a record before this. It's called In My Lifetime. This was in 95 that he dropped it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they filmed this record in the Caribbean islands.
The In My Lifetime, nigga?
No, not In My Lifetime Volume 1. See, that's the problem. People get it twisted.
No. I mean, like, there's a skit in this album where it's Dave's dad, and he's like, Daisy. He's like, he was like,
Fred and Foe, right?
Yeah. Dave's hilarious.
This skits were funny as hell.
Okay, let's just keep moving.
Bro, that was just the first verse, bro. But no. Just suffice it to say, this is my favorite Jay-Z track, and shout out to Nas for "You Made It a Hot Line, I Made It a Hot Song."
Feeling it.
Another dope one.
Cool track. Another cool track. Again, chilled. I really like the what's it called? Mecca does the hook on this. And I think you'll get this more when the album goes through. It just shows Jay-Z's range, that he can give you fast, he can give you slow, he can give you mid-range, he can give you introspective, he can give you skill, wordplay, and everything. I think this one just showed you, similar to Can Knock the Hustle. He can give you much more of a slower vibe, and really because again, everything, okay, this guy is like the wiggity kind of rapper. But still, he can still take the whole wiggity rap and mellow it down and give it a nice groove that works well for this, which is a much more slower paced kind of track. So,
also, I think Ski needs his credit. Like the flip on the Ahmad Jamal sample, it's just delicious, man. That's the only word I have for it.
Delicious,
great. Yeah, I think it's. I think the song's Pastures.
It's basically thoughts on Feeling It. Your thoughts on the track Feeling It, bro.
Like, Feeling It is just,
it makes you
I don't know how to describe it. It's just the highs of of a drug dealer's career. Like, you know.
Yo, I just realized. I'm just looking at the lyrics for the first time. Transactions illegitimate because life is still a bitch, and then you die. But for now, life, close your eyes and feel his dick. He used Nas again because life is still a bitch, and then you die.
Yeah.
So he was heavily influenced by Nas. Apparently, Nas was supposed to be on Reasonable Doubt, or was Jay
we'll
supposed
get to that
to be
later.
on
We'll get to
Illmatic?
that later. We'll get to that later. Feeling It is just Jay's ode to like the streets. Talks about, you know, the highs of being a drug dealer. You know, you got the girls around him living a lavish life, sipping Moet. Jay, at that point in his career, when he was growing up in the 80s, he knew that people who sold crack, like they were like the kings of the neighborhood. So he fell in like that tough kid from across the hall. You know, he said that one of his homeboys, I think his name was DeHaven Irby, he introduced him to the game. And that one of the benefits of him and his crew was working out of town, because with this record, he talks about, I believe there's a line where he's like, no doubt, they can vouch, my life is real as shit. 95 South and Poppy on the hill and shit. And all the towns like Cambridge that I killed with shit. So like that town Cambridge, they had a ring up in Maryland in the town of Cambridge, and that's like 12,000 people. And around that place, the Irby guy, they said that they used to run cocaine down the I-95 corridor. And they would supply like a ring of local distributors. So that was Jay's hustle. Jay's like, when DT's talking about, you know, Jay doesn't want to self-incriminate himself, he's kind of snitching on himself in this record, like just little tidbits here and there. So he talks about winter nights he spent shivering up in alleys, you know, taking all those wrinkled bills from addicts. So he mixes in like the high points with the low points, but in a very like, you know, upbeat record, like an upbeat, you know, instrumental behind him.
Track number 6.
We're only on
Snoop Dogg, your boy Snoop Doggy Dogg, with the little intro there. Again, for me, another one of the strongest tracks on this album. Really good beats, nice simple beats, nice little hook from Snoop Dogg, and again,
don't forget Prodigy. Secret Society, trying to keep. Yeah, that's Prodigy.
So again, for me, like another one of the strongest tracks. I think again for me, like again, because again, I just look at this thing from a musical sonic point of view, and I just think, see, this for me, this is almost like the cousin of Dead Presidents 2. Like they're just very like the vibe and the atmosphere and the emotions that this track evokes is very similar to the one that Dead Presidents 2 evokes. And I just think that there's almost like a haunting kind of aura that is created by the Snoop Dogg hook that he puts in it. And again, similar thing to this thing is that once Jay-Z just starts going and he starts rapping, you're like, man, the way this guy just hitting the beat, hitting his record, and just executing and his wordplay, the effortlessness thing of his wordplay, almost as if they're just rolling off his tongue with ease, is amazing. So.
Do you know what? One of the first, like when I first listened to this song, I remember not liking it because of it was the Evils, and then I heard the bar, and I think maybe Lupe referenced this in one song where he was like, "Life ills poison my body. I used to say fuck Mike skills. I never prayed to God. I prayed to God eat. That's right. It's wicked. That's life I lived. It ain't asking forgiveness for my sins. Ends." I remember listening to that like when I was, I don't know, 18, something like that, 17 probably. I was like, you never prayed to God. He prayed to Gotti, huh? Like I did one. I didn't understand like who John Gotti was to make it make sense. And also, I was just like, so, like, you were a heathen. Like, the song's called The Evils. It was just one of those ones where I was just like, I don't know if I like this song or if I like this person. But then after a certain amount of time, I was just like, I don't care.
No, this is a very
good devout Christian.
Yeah. It was one of those, like, African parent situations, probably, where, like, if my dad ever heard I was listening to a song called The Evils, I would have got beat. The Evils.
What? Devils.
what it is.
No, but this record, it has that, that theme of two cats, two cats in the game dealing with friendship, competition, and the Evils is just, it's that obsession with the fast life, trying to get paid. Like, there's this line where he was talking about, he's like, whoever said illegal was the easy way out couldn't understand the mechanics and the workings of the underworld. Granted,
9 to 5 is how you survive. I ain't trying to survive. I'm trying to live it to the limit and love it a lot.
And love it a lot. Yep.
Like that. And that is the hustler's motto.
That's the hustler ambition, the hustler mindset, pretty much.
That's the mantra.
Honestly, like, this might go take a turn for some weird things, but when he's talking about the underworld, when he's talking about these like truly dark places, Jay, he grew up as a part. This is something no one really talks about with Jay. He grew up as a member of the Nubian nation, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Nubian?
And he was taught Nubian, Nuwabian, and that's where he learned about a lot about these secret societies, a lot about the underworld. And he was taught by a man by the name of Dr. York, who was out of Bushwick. Dr. York was this spiritual teacher, and Dr. York headed what he called the Rap Warriors. So it wasn't only Janus, it was Jazzo. And remember, the first time we ever meet Jazz is on that record, The Originators, where Jay is rapping in a whole different style, that, wiggity, wiggity, black, the miggity, miggity, that, And in that record, I think he references, people would call him, the mainstream, if a mainstream outlet were to look at Dr. York's teachings, they would call him, a black supremacist or whatnot. But, Jay was under him. Jay was under his tutelage. And it wasn't just Jay, it was Big Daddy Kane, it was Rakim, you had Prodigy, you had Jazzo, you had the Wu-Tang, you had Nas. And he was out of Brooklyn. So I think Jay, he took all his experiences in life, from the drug dealings to his time under Dr. York and all that, and he found a way in this record to just, almost bring that all together and then add his own, add another different element to it. Like in that third verse where he's talking about, he has a friend, right? In that third verse, and he's talking about
second verse. That's the one where we used to fight for blocks with buildings, but now we fight with blocks with buildings that make it killing. Closest to friends when we first started, but grew apart as the money grew.
No, it's verse 2. Yeah, you're right.
He said,
where he's thinking about
when we
first learned to use rubbers. Yeah, and
now
then
we learned. So in turn, I'm kidnapping his baby's
mother. Yeah, and in that one, the person who's around him, you can just assume of him not, using the rubbers. He's less calculating, less cunning, and he has a child as a result. And that baby mother, Jay, we don't know if this is real life. I think this is some real shit, man. Like, he kidnaps her, okay, and talks about how black-hearted he's become, and then he tries to violently exploit any opening he can of that innocent mother of his friend's child, and then what does he say? He says he starts trying to feed her 50s, the money food metaphor he uses. I keep feeding her larger bills till she, gives me more information, till the shit started to.
I was like, that was like a good censoring of what he actually says.
Yeah, the shit started to make sense, CENTS, SENSE, like sense, until she digests them. So that's just like a reflection of innocence to violence, and just living a good life into the, the street life, an innocent life to the street life. And like, this is conversation rap, man. That's what this is. And there's just so many different, like, just dimensions to this, where he's talking about, people being possessed by material lust. In the third verse, he's talking about sticking up random people. Man, like, it's the evils, man. Now we're lethal, infected with the evils. And that's the thing, like, what people should not misunderstand, though, is that this record, it's not about having a demon possessed inside you, but it's more so about letting loose of the demons you already have inside you. That's what Jay says, and I think that's what Jay pretty much said, because those demons inside you, that's what turns you into this, devil, raging, money obsessed, sociopath, like just the evils. You're affected with the evils. But like DJ Premier, want to know what's funny? This is a gospel record. Like this record is a gospel. Yeah, the sample is a gospel record. So how funny, like just the like this is a gospel record. This man's rapping about some of the darkest shit this like you can conjure up. Like yo, this is funny, man. But yeah.
Yeah,
very interesting record.
Can I just get like my
Jay also says this is his favorite ever record. This is the best record he's ever done. According to him. According to him. But yeah.
My favorite line, like when I heard it, I was like, ooh, like you know when you're like first catching bars for the first time? When he was like, and even if Jehovah Witness, but he'll never testify. I was just like my little brain was deep. Like, my brain exploded. I was just like, he put Jehovah Witness, testify, he's J Hove, like, ooh. Like I get it.
Wow, yeah, I didn't even catch that. Oh yeah, Jay.
Yeah.
Jay.
Oh, you never knew Jehovah?
Yeah. Oh wow.
And it's like, there's also the deeper meaning. Like even if God sees what I'm doing, you can't get God to come to court. So it's just that whole thing. It was just like, ooh, like if I was in an English class and they were like, yo,
that's like a triple. That's a triple entendre, like quadruple.
Or it could. Do you think it could mean like even if a Jehovah Witness were to see it, he'd kill them or something like that? I don't know, but it was just one of those first ones where it was like, oh my goodness, like I get that bar first time hearing it, and then you kind of just laugh, and then it goes into 22s.
All right, look, man, let's ride with this one, man. Now, the thing about this track is this: 22 twos.
Which record?
22 twos, track 7, 22 twos. This was pretty much where I was like, okay, this guy is extremely good at this craft. And I think this was Jay-Z just saying that, all right, if you thought I was good at this thing called rap, this is where I just show you pure skill of this thing called rap. And I think when I heard this for the first time, I was like, Lord in heaven, this guy's extremely good at this thing.
Was that the only one that actually sat down one time and just counted? So 1 2 2 twos, 12 twos, 22s. This guy actually said 22 twos. Because like at first, like you don't understand the title, like 22 twos. So at first I thought, does that mean he has two? I forgot what I actually thought. I thought it was like 22 different flows. At first, like the first time I listened to it, and then like the third or fourth time you listen to it, it's like, oh, you just have to count the number of twos in the freestyle, like two as in the number, and then 2 TO, and then TOO, and then he like flipped some words to sound kind of like two. So you're like, yo, he actually said 22 times. And then I think recently, maybe not recently, maybe like early 2000s or early 2010s, there was like 44 fours. Yeah. So when he did that, it clicked.
I just find the whole thing hilarious. At the end when the lady
Maria Davis.
I just found that hilarious. I think I was like, I was like, no, we're not gonna do that here. I was like, yeah.
Hey, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I smell some reefer. This is why our people can't have anything.
Lowest of key. I think as the song's fading out, and they're like, we got to come to get our own businesses and own our record companies, like Rockefeller Records, like that's low key like some business things that you might find from Jay-Z today in terms of doing for self, building our businesses, like controlling what you need to control, essentially like title and things like that. So even from the early stages, Jay-Z was giving like bars. Obviously, you're not going to have billions of dollars in drug money to fund whatever you want to do, but you understand like what he was trying to say, I suppose.
But I think when they were interviewing Jay-Z basically about 444 or something, someone who was asking him that like, oh yeah, like it's so interesting the kind of jewels you said on 444, but it said, I've been saying this stuff from the very beginning. It's not only now that, in my older age, I'm now becoming, and I'm giving guys these jewels. No, ever since the beginning, I've been talking about owning your own businesses, being an entrepreneur and a boss. It's just that you maybe missed them with all the stuff I put in there. But if you listen back in, I have been saying this stuff from the very beginning, from my very first record. So I think even in this, in the 22 tools, you can see you just have to listen, and I just have to catch exactly what he's saying, which may not be as clear as apparent as it was on 444.
No, I was just thinking like when it said, and someone went, "Hey, shut the fuck up," and then she was like, "Who said that?" And then somebody in the back was like, "Him." I was like,
"Get him out of here!" I'm not going to continue
until he's removed from the building. You know.
He said, "Him." I was like, "Who's that snitch, bro?"
A fun fact about this record: if you take out the intro and the outro, the time length is 2:22.
Wow.
Is it?
Yeah.
You're lying.
Wow.
No, it is. He only does 2 verses on here. It's not like he does 3 like on the other records.
Give me a break. It's not really 2:22.
It's 2:22, bro. I swear to you. Take out the intro. Take out the outro.
I'll check. I'll check. That's a lie. I'll check. That's messed up. No, so if it is 2:22, then I'm going to look at Jay-Z differently from now on. So.
that would be like if the song 444 on the album 444 was 4 minutes 44 seconds. Like it was like
44 minutes or something, or 44 minutes 4 seconds.
So all what's next? Can I live? Woo!
Can I live? Can I live? Can I live? Weird track.
No,
I don't know.
Explain yourself.
I don't even know how to explain it. It's like,
do you like it?
Do I like it?
Say yes.
No. It's you know what I say? It's a good track, an interesting track in the way that the beat is and everything. It's a good interesting track, but I personally don't like it.
Wow.
But even if I don't personally like it, I can still appreciate. I cannot call it like a bad track. It's just a track that's basically it doesn't work for me. Like again, this is a track that I'd skip. You know, this is a track.
Wow.
That
See,
wow.
This is an unskippable track.
Yeah, like.
No. I like the title. Can I live? I like that saying because I use that saying a lot. Can I live? So.
But okay, so like the first
I
bars,
love the introduction, like the monologue, like the opening. That's Shakespearean. Like just the way he talks, he's like, we hustle out of a sense of hopelessness, sort of a desperation. Through that desperation, we become addicted. Sort of like the fiends we become accustomed to serving. But we feel we have nothing to lose, so we offer you. Well. We offer our lives, right? What do you bring to the table? Like that's just like
every nigga watching me closely.
Watching me closely.
Watching this butter for the bread. They want to toast me.
They try to toast me.
I keep my head both of them where they're supposed to be because hoes will get you sidetracked and clap from close feet. What?
Oh my god!
I don't sleep. I'm tired. I feel wired like codeine these days. A brother gotta admire me from 4 fiends away.
4 fiends away, bro. The line that stuck out to me though is like, cause look, I'm not a gangster. I'm not a hood nigga, but where he's talking about, where this man's talking about, explain why we adapt to crime. I'd rather die enormous than live dormant.
That's how we on it.
That's how we on it. Like, that's his argument. That's what he's telling y'all. Like, and that rhyme, like, that convinces you because the words, like, it connects. That simple couplet, that's a couplet, right? It just, like, it takes the idea of, like, that intro that he was saying in the beginning, and like Jay says, it just makes it more powerful. Like, think about, like, I remember he related it to, O.J. Simpson, right? Like that infamous case where Jay was arguing that he might not be a free man today. Like, that glove don't fit rhymed with acquit. So it was that soundbite for the media to grab onto. but it was also like as persuasive, like as the hook on a hit song. That's what he said. Like that's the power of rhymes right there. Like,
but he was like, was the bar? I mean, it's obviously complicated, but he's like, I stepped it up another level, meditated like a Buddhist, recruited lieutenants with ludicrous dreams of getting cream. Let's do this. It gets tedious, and this is another one where I caught it. Like, first out, I was like,
one eye.
So open. I keep one eye open, like CBS.
Like CBS.
You see me stressed,
stressed, right?
But see, like, but have hope. Like, do you understand? Because you're from the UK, like, you understand CBS, like the logo for CBS.
Oh yeah.
An open eye, but also like CBS, as in you're seeing bullshit. I've heard that explanation as well. So wow. I keep one eye open like CBS. Like you see everything, or you see the bullshit, and then you see me stressed, right? Also, is it Isaac Hayes that sampled here? The
Look of Love.
The Look of Love, like another great flip, like
Irv Gotti, man. He recycled that too for Ashanti. But yeah. I mean, that flip, honestly, that sample is a cheat code, man. Like that shit sounds amazing on anything. Seriously, like
the production on this album, I mean, it's incredible.
It's low key. It's low key. Like
we will get into the second half of the album and why this album is questionably classic. It's classic for reasons, but
no, it's a classic, man. Like this is what Jay-Z is.
After Can I Live? It falls off after Can I Live?
Really? Okay, let's go. Let's keep going.
Okay. So next we have Ain't No Jigger, Jay-Z, Foxy Brown.
This record stinks.
Okay, man. Oh no! So what about Ain't No Nigga rather? Ain't no Nigga original mix. Okay, let me be real here. When I first heard this, I really liked it. And I thought this was really good. This doesn't have very good replay value, and I think that this, by the time it gets midway through, it loses its way, and I'm like, okay, it just doesn't have the same kind of energy, and it loses its luster when you get halfway through the track. So yeah, it's cool. It's like Jay-Z rapping is nice and fun and very upbeat and very has nice energy to it, but I just don't think that the track as a whole has good sustenance or good replay value.
The hook is atrocious. Ain't no nigga like the one I got. No one can fuck you better. Sleeps around, but he gives me a lot. Keeps you in cabins and I understand kind of why you put this track in here, because part of the lifestyle that you live would be like kind of a ladies' man in that way, and I'm sure Jay-Z had his fair share. But to me, it's one of those tracks that like it doesn't fit. Again, it's kind of like what we were talking about last week. It does this record doesn't really feel like you're a gangster in any way. It just like the sonics of it. It just doesn't sound like.
Yeah, I mean,
this is some gangster shit. Like what?
But, like as we were talking though, this was big in the sense of Jay getting his name out there for the clubs, because they were trying to peddle Dead Presidents to all these radio stations, Hot 97.
Yeah, that won't.
You know, that idiot Funk Flex. You know, they weren't.
Relax, man.
No,
relax.
But they weren't. They weren't trying to. They weren't like they were. You know, they were. You know, they were acting a little bougie on Jay because they weren't trying to play Dead Presidents. But when they heard that Ain't No Nigga, that's what they first played, because that's what got the clubs bouncing. And then from then on, that's when they started playing the Dead Presidents, because that's what Irv advised Jay. He said that this record on the flip side, because there's an A and B side on all these back then. Yeah. So on the B side, Ain't No Nigga, that was the record that got Jay's name kind of like out there in the club scene, pretty much, before they now had Dead Presidents.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Other than the fact Foxy Brown is 15, 16 in that range, writing these type of raunchy hood,
let's
experienced lyrics. Like that's a little bit uncomfortable. Like once you learn how old.
But Jay was like, I've been sinning since he was playing Barbie and Kenan. Since he was playing with Barbie and Kenan, like
Just kind of driving right into it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, chill.
Yeah, he drove into it.
I mean, come on, like you can't be putting a 16-year-old on a track like this. Come on.
Bro, Foxy ain't act like no 16.
Right.
I don't care less. Whatever it says on the birth certificate, I don't care whether you act like a 16-year-old. If you're 16 on the birth certificate,
she was in these streets. That's all I'm gonna say.
I don't give it.
Allegedly.
Bro, how old was she? Wait, this is 16, right? When did the Firm, Nas's group, the Firm, when did they drop? 96? Affirmative Action? Bro, how old was Foxy? Foxy was still 15, 16 when she was on Affirmative Action on It Was Written with Nas in them. Like in AZ and all those cats. Like she was 15, 16 spitting there. She was spitting on a whole bunch of records. Like she was with Jay, she was with Nas.
Like 15, 16. Okay, look, man, let me now this is where I have beef with Jay-Z. Again, I know Jay-Z will probably not listen to this thing because I think he
might actually because he loves this record. So it wouldn't surprise me if he like goes on.
Now, how do you as a rapper listen to this beat and not rap to this beat? Now, let me explain further what I say here. Jay-Z didn't rap to this beat. As in, yeah, he put words together and everything and had an interesting rhyme scheme. He didn't rap to this beat. This is DJ Premier being DJ Premier, giving you, this is when you just say, aha, this is a beat. If Jay-Z rapped to this beat, this would be one of the best tracks on the album.
Man,
but Jay-Z,
this record is fire. Like y'all don't mess with Friend or Foe? Are we talking about Friend or Foe?
Wait. No, as I said, amazing beats. Amazing beats. But Jay-Z didn't do this beat justice. No.
It's a great concept in that like the opening is basically like they're gonna rob him. And then he kind of corrects them over the verse of like, what are you trying to do? And then by the end, he's like, I'll let you go. And it's kind of one of those. But it does, to Have Hope's point, if you listen to it, it feels like Jay-Z had already rapped this. Premier gives him a beat, and they just put the acapellas over the Premier beat. It doesn't sound like he wrote this song to that beat.
Nope. No.
But I think we also have to understand Jay-Z had probably had this idea or concept of a song way before he heard that beat and wanted this record or this verse on his debut album, because we all know Jay-Z, he doesn't write anything down. It's always been in his head. So maybe this was the beat that was available for him to carry out the idea. So I would have liked either rap to that beat, as you say, like write to that beat, or think to that beat, however Jay-Z's process.
Wait. Can I just ask you something very quick? Because is this actually true that Jay-Z doesn't write anything down? Is that actually true, or is that just a myth?
It's true.
Give me a break. So it's saying that everything he does is just from his head. He doesn't write anything down on paper.
True.
I don't believe it.
No, it's true. Yeah.
If you've seen him work, like there's a bunch of documentaries. I think the one that you could maybe point to is the Watch the Throne one, where they're basically in like a mansion in Australia somewhere, and he's trying to come up with the lyrics to the last song. I think it's like Why I Love You. And it's you ripped up my heart and you stepped on it. I spent about a minute, maybe less on it. Fly, pelican, fly. Like, and he was kind of running through those verses, and you could actually tell like he's not writing anything down, but he's thinking through it. So it might take him a few takes in order to get the bars right. But like, there's no pen, there's no paper. He's just thinking it through, which is insane. And I have a theory. Maybe we can get into this in another episode. But the legend that he never wrote anything down has ruined hip hop, because every little and young this was like, Jay-Z don't write, so I ain't gonna write. Like I'm as smart as Jay-Z. I don't need to write what do I need pen and paper for? Jay-Z don't write no bars. I ain't gonna do it. Then Lil Wayne says he does the same thing. So now you have all these people who are just trying to rap. But you peasant, you actually need pen, pencil, paper in order to come up with genius bars.
Line, full stops, periods, commas.
Like you might actually need to take out Microsoft Word and type up your bars. Like, stop trying to be Jay-Z. Like, you're not Jay-Z. You're not that smart at rap. So chill. So I feel like this myth that it is actually true has effectively ruined a whole generation of rap who feel like writing is a waste of time because they feel like Jay-Z doesn't never wrote.
I don't think those. You can say that, but I don't think these mumble rappers take after Jay-Z. Like
they do, or Jay-Z started something that other rappers have then carried on. So Lil Wayne says he doesn't write anything.
Let's not act like Hov hasn't killed trends before. Like he auto-tune when people were, overdoing that, like in a non-artistic way. Like he went against that. So like this mumble thing, I'm sure he has in his heart of hearts. He won't say it. It's kind of like Joe Budden too. Like you can just see these dudes as fronting, acting like they mess with these mumble rappers, but deep down, like they don't mess with them. Like yeah, exactly. Like that's what it is. But back to this friend or foe thing. Like man, like I can't believe y'all don't mess with this record. Like it's like.
No.
He's kind of using the DMX. He's kind of using the DMX flow, in a sense, where he's like, you mess with the dogs, I gotta bite you. He's like, friend or foe, yo, state your biz. You turning dope? There it is. Like he's talking like a mafioso to this cat. Like he's telling them like what it is.
It doesn't work. It just doesn't. Basically, when you get a beat
it does work, bro.
That's not the time and place. When DJ Premier gives you a beat like that, I know you have a concept. I know you have something cool. Put it on another track. Just give us.
I like the
acapella that, and it would have been just as cold.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like the unorthodox like style he went to it. Like Jay will do this.
Premier beats to basically. This is rule 1,350 of rap is do not try and do a clever conceptual rapping scheme for a DJ Premier beat. When DJ Premier gives you a beat, you rap. No,
that's come on. Not even DJ Premier would agree with that. Like, bro, he wants different type of ideas on. He's produced concept records before. Like this isn't the first time. Jay also had a follow up to this, Friend of Foe 98 on the next album. Like, and it was just as dope. But yeah, like this album though, I would just say this. Like, I'm sorry, this record in particular, it kind of reminds me of I don't know if y'all have seen The Godfather, where Michael's talking to Carlo Rizzi, where he's like, it insults my intelligence. It makes me very angry. Where he's like, you think I'll make my sister a widow? Like where he's talking to that guy. And I don't know, I just got like the same vibes off this record where Jay's telling the dude, like, you draw, better be Picasso, the best. Because if not so, God bless. Like, like he's talking, it's conversation rap, bro. Right. I mess with it. Like, I don't know. I just
Okay. Like, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Coming of age, Jay-Z, and an introduction to Memphis Bleak.
Wow.
Good idea. Good. No. It's a good concept. I like the idea of like Jay-Z meets Memphis Bleak, and Memphis Bleak is like trying to come up, and he's like, I don't want your money. I just want to be kind of schooled in the game. Like it's a cool kind of. It's like well, I won't even use that example, but it's a cool idea. Just not with Memphis.
He had the cat Shaheem from Wu-Tang.
Mm-hmm.
That was his first idea of the person he wanted to, to be that second guy. Because if you hear Bleak's verse on this, it's pretty obvious. Jay wrote it.
Oh, wow.
Jay wrote the verse. Yeah, like it's pretty much it's an open secret. Everyone, it's not even a secret. It's pretty much out there that Jay wrote it. I believe like the story behind it, like this record and the Evils, it's pretty much the same. It's a similar concept, Like in the Evils, you have two dudes that are dealing with competition and friendship. The coming of age is more of like a boss dealing with like the rise of someone who's younger than him. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. So what he's doing in this one is just like it's him and Bleak, and Bleak's just he's his apprentice, pretty much. Like the story behind this is pretty funny though. Like Bleak, he gave Bleak the verse, right? And it was written on Chicken Scratch. He wrote it on Chicken Scratch, and he gave it to Bleak, and he told him, "You got 24 hours, okay, to memorize this verse, and come up to my apartment, And if you can't do it within the next 20, if you can't come within the next, if you can't be ready within the next 24 hours, then you're not going to be on this record. Just forget it. So Bleak comes in, right? And I think they're at Clark Kent's house, and Jay asks Bleak, like, what does he want? And Bleak casually orders like 6 bacon cheeseburgers. And Bleak is like a skinny dude. Like, he's like, yo, what you want 6 cheeseburgers for? And so Bleak's just like trying to memorize the verse, and Jay gets him the 6 cheeseburgers. And like Jay's story, Jay says that Bleak ate all 6 of them. And after eating all 6, he was like, all right, let's get to the booth. So this dude, he was hungry and he was nervous at the same time. And like Jay just looked at him as like, yo, this is just like that younger dude who kind of carries himself as an old soul, He has he's a young guy with an old soul, He has that understanding of things beyond his years. Like, if you remember a part in that record where he's like, a G, I ride with you for free. I want the long-term riches. Remember that part in the record where he says, where Bleak's responding to him, he's like, I ride with you for free. I want the long-term riches. I want the money. I want the power. So he's just that dude that's under his wing, man. Even in the Blueprint album, he references this. What was that record where he's like, was herbing them in the home of the Terrapins, got a dirt cheap for them. Plus, if they were short with cheese, I would work with them. Broad and weed, got rid of that dirt for them. Wasn't born hustlers, I was birthing them.
Isn't that from
he's talking
Blueprints?
Yeah, that's from Blueprint. That's Jay talking about Bleak. Like, wasn't born hustlers, I was birthing them. Like, he's referencing Bleak. So Bleak was that, he was that young boy trying to come up, man. And Jay held him down pretty much. So yeah, that's what.
Is that girls or no?
No, that's Izzo. H to the Izzo. Yeah.
I was like, is that girls? No, that's not girls. What's next? What's after Coming of Age?
All right, the next one we have is Cashmere Thoughts.
I don't like this record at all. I'm gonna keep it a buck. There are 2 records I don't mess with on Reasonable Doubt. It's Ain't No Nigga and Cashmere Thoughts. I got nothing to say.
No. Sorry, guys, man. It's going to be enough for me then, man. Sorry, guys.
The last line is hilarious, where he's like, "Fuck if your leg broke, bitch. Hop up on your good foot." That part makes me laugh. Where he's like, "Hop up on your good foot," and then he kind of giggles and the song fades out. But nah, this one ain't it.
Man, no, sorry, no. I bet there are 1 or 2 listeners on here that are just fuming right now. Like, why did you go talk about this record? Like, man,
low key, all most of the low spots on this album, I hate to say it, DJ Clark Kent, man.
Oh man, this dude went there, dog. This nigga went there.
You just this DJ Clark Kent, man.
No.
You're gonna win. No. Yes, you did.
Brooklyn's Finest go hard. I'm gonna just say that, but okay.
Let us. I'm gonna pull up the Wikipedia page, and we're gonna see DJ Clark Kent, Brooklyn's Finest, Coming of Age, and Cashmere Thoughts.
Oh Lord,
those are 3 of the not great tracks on this album. Obviously, people would say Brooklyn's Finest is up there.
I like Brooklyn's Finest, but I can understand the other 2.
If we look at what Premier did, he did The Evils, he did Friend or Foe, and he did Bring It On. So solid.
No, Ski went off though.
If we look at what Ski did, he did Politics as Usual, Dead Presidents, Feeling It, and 22 Twos.
Yeah.
So Clark Kent, I think he's 3rd place here. We're going to talk about people who did multiple records. So,
that Ain't No Nigga beat low key is also fire, but just the record.
Is that
itself.
Jazzo?
Yeah. It's the record itself though. It's
Speaking of Jazzo, we're gonna bring it on. Do you guys think he has the best verse?
Sauce Money went harder than Jazzo on that low key.
I've also just low key on the Jazzo thing. You can hear Jay-Z and Jazzo and Jay-Z. It's very uncanny. But obviously, if you know the story, like how they came up together, he was basically his inspiration or whatnot in terms of rap. Like they're very similar.
Jazzo had a deal with EMI Records, and he took Jay with him. He had like a budget of 500,000. That was like what they call R&B money back then, which was really big opportunity for him. And he took Jay with him to London. They was chilling at Notting Hill or something. And so Jay and Jazz, they were in London for a whole month, and they were recording with some producer, I forget his name, and Irv Gotti too was there as like a touring DJ. And that's where that was Jay's first like introduction to like the music business, because after when Jazz released that record, he had a record called Hawaiian Sophie, where it has like the ukulele in the background. Has like the ukulele sample. Yeah. And man, for a street nigga, that finished Jazzo's rap, dog. It finished his rap, bruh. Like,
do you know what? There was a thing in like there was a record of Jazzo or something like that. And he was wearing a chain, and I remember that it was like Jay-Z, because he obviously had jewelry or whatnot. He was giving Jazzo the jewelry and the kind of the regalia of someone who would have been a street guy, just to kind of keep that persona up, or just kind of enhance it, if you will. So yeah, but Sauce Money, we got to give him his credit on this one. I don't like the song as much as I like the others, but this one is a good track. I don't hate it at all. Like, I won't skip it.
Me, Jay, and Primo got his sold across the board like Pacino. Like, yo, this dude, he was going off. Al Pacino down to Nino Brown. Like, bruh, man, Sauce Money went in.
Is this Bring It On? Bring It On.
Yeah, Bring It On. With the Fat Joe sample.
I think we can even look at them in both. I think Bring It On and Regrets. Both DJ Premier. Sorry, DJ Premier's that dude, man. DJ Premier's that dude. Both DJ Premier tracks.
No, I don't think Premier Primo didn't do Regrets.
Pizza Manic is the Regrets. Pizza Manic is Regrets, and Premier is Bring It On. But still, two quality tracks. Two real quality tracks.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is, again, alluding back to Illmatic, see, Regrets is the typical good ending track.
Mm-hmm.
But ain't hard to tell that's like a single.
Bro, like,
it's like Regrets is what
Jay-Z trimmed the fat off this album.
It's like Regrets is what you would normally expect an album ends with, is a track like Regrets, the way that it's done and the way it's constructed. But man, but see, like, I think coming of age, Cashmere Thoughts, Friend of Four, good. You see, look, man, guys, we're gonna have to have a discussion, man, because if you go, I'll give you
just because you don't like it. Just because you don't like it, you can't say it's not a classic. No, come on.
No. Hey, look, Tosi, let me just put that. Hey, easy. Let me land.
We're not going to talk about like Regrets, like in depth, just about like the message of it before we get into the concept.
Yeah. Hit it. Go for it.
Yeah, no. I love how this track closes, because it's more of it goes into the introspective repercussions of someone who lives the life that Jay-Z was living up into that time, and I think it's just kind of like a sober assessment of the things that you have to deal with and get over if you're going to live a life of crime in that way. And I think you can't just skip over the fact of like that song just to get into the album, because I really think it's important.
I think that last verse where he's talking about where he's like him as a narrator, he's like left reminiscing, and he just gets into a current rage about like a situation he has with that dude Newton. I think he calls him Newton, and he's like an old friend turned enemy, but he knows that like killing him would fuck up his money.
That like, so like, he chooses. Niggas think they guns can stop four niggas, and like they really old niggas.
Exactly, and but it's going to be hard because Newton is, as he says, like he's a problem. So by the end, he realizes that he's having a crazy conversation with someone who's not even there. Like he's talking with, I think he's talking with like his dead friend, and like he's just so destabilized by the stress and regret that he's become like quote unquote touched. Crazy enough to strategize with his dead homie about trying to kill someone. Like. So yeah, man, just this whole thing, like this regrets record. I think this is a beautiful closer to the record.
Very good. It's a great way to close. A great way to close.
Yeah.
Great hook. Very good beat.
Very really good hook. By the way.
Very catchy.
Yeah, I love that hook.
He was like, he used to hold me, told me I was the best anything in this world I could possess. I mean,
okay. Look, let's now look at this album as a whole. Now, it's from track 9, track 10, track 11, track 12. I feel this is a lull.
If you cut those 4 songs out and you took the Illmatic blueprint and you made this a 10 track album and you cut out 10, 11, 9, love that 10, 11, 12. Maybe you could keep Friend or Foe because it's so short. So you have an 11 track album and you cut out 9, 11, 12. Perfect. It's an unquestionably perfect album because you trim the fat off it.
No. You know what? Like for me, I'm not that big of a fan of Politics as usual. I'm not that big of a fan of Can I Live? Ain't No Nigga. I can live with because I liked it when I first heard it. If you got rid of Coming of Age, you got rid of Cashmere Thoughts. You got rid of maybe. I mean, you know what?
Everything else can stay. It's only 9 through 12. 9 through 12. Yeah. Those are the only questionable ones.
But the sick thing about this is that the beat for Friend or Foe is so good.
So keep it. It's only like
man. I love that record.
Yeah. Guys, I don't think we can call this a classic. I think we can call this a great debut album.
Nah, see, that's actually
you tripping. You
would get stoned for that comment. Like,
real talk. That's why I'm doing this behind the mic. If I said this in your program, I'll get beat up. So I'm doing this behind the mic. And my name is Daffy Duck. I have hope, so you can't track me down. So there you go.
But this is the thing. I've always contended that the second half of Reasonable Doubt is not as strong as the first half. So you get through Can't Knock the Hustle, Politics as Usual, Brooklyn's Finest, Dead Presidents, The Evils, Feeling It. I think that might be flipped. 22 Twos, Can I Live? You get through those first 8 tracks, and you're like, if the rest of this album, because there are 6 tracks left, if the rest of this album is like this is unquestionably the greatest thing I've ever heard, most likely. And then you get Ain't No Nigga, then you get Friend or Foe, then you get Coming of Age, then you get Cashmere Thoughts, and you're just like,
yeah,
what has happened? Like, we've devolved. Then you can Bring It On. You're like, okay, and then you get Bring It On. Then you're like, okay, like we're rebounding here. Then he ends it with Regrets, which, as you said, Tosin, was like a beautiful ending. So you're left kind of conflicted. It's like the first half is so great, then there's this lull, and it's not like the lull in Illmatic where the songs are still reasonably good. But it's just a slow tempo. If I could land, like the lull is reflective of the songs not being good, not of the tempo being reduced. So in Illmatic, once you get to, I'm reading these things, I can't even think of the Illmatic track.
Time for Your Mind.
Yeah, but once you get to One Time for Your Mind, it's like. That is the tempo. That is the tempo just kind of flattening out. It's not a bad song. It's just everything's kind of slowed down, but we'll build you back up. And then by the time we get into track 9 and 10, you're good. This one, you get to like Ain't No Nigga. You're like, yo, I want to turn this record off. Like it's one of those. It's like, yo, like
how do you want to turn it off after you heard Can I Live? Come on, man. Like,
you'll
give it a second chance. Like, you'll just be like, okay.
More of that. I would rather if this album ended at track 8, you would just replay it over and over and over again. But it's like once you get to Ain't No Nigga and Friend or Foe, Coming of Age, Cashmere Thoughts, it's like, yo, I don't feel like listening to this anymore. So let's just go back to the top, or let's just skip and get to Bring It On and Regrets.
For me,
so that is my problem, and this is why I could see someone like Half Hope saying it's a questionable classic.
But you see, this is the issue here when you're making an album, and I think Michael Jackson was, to use him as an example, do you know the amount of tracks that Michael Jackson didn't put on his album? Like, before he made an album, he'd make about 40 tracks, 30 tracks, and he'd lose about 20 of them or 25 of them. And you'd have maybe 12. So every single track is watertight. There are tracks here where they don't need to be on here. And I think the thing about this is that we have to keep on comparing this to Illmatic because of how close Jay-Z and Nas are and everything, and how Jay-Z is so influenced by Nas's album. You see, on Illmatic, I truly believe that there were more tracks or more songs made in that recording session of Illmatic that probably didn't even make the final cut. I think that everything that Jay-Z recorded made it on this album. And it speaks to what you guys mentioned of like, he was really wanting to do this one album. So he was like, you know what? Everything that I think of, everything I want, I'm just going to put everything on here. I don't think more thought was given. So let's not be very critical and decide what tracks work, what tracks don't work. Because I'm sorry, man, based on the tempo and the pace you've set from track 1 to track 8, how do you have a coming of age or Kashmir Thoughts here? I'm sorry.
I think coming of age is the same theme as The Evils. Like, you can understand conceptually.
No. Tosi, we have to. Okay, I understand about let's look at this in a musical sense, because there's musical sense, then there's content. I'm not going to begrudge the content or anything of like what he's talking about. Forget about what he's talking about. Let's listen in a critical musical sonic sense about pacing, tone, and so forth. You cannot tell me that coming of age is anywhere close to the musical quality of The Evils. You're not going to tell me that. Please don't.
I'm not, but what I'm basically saying is that as a concept record, musically too, honestly, like that coming of age beat, for me, it's fire, but I understand why y'all don't mess with it. Like, I can understand that. And then I just say that for me personally, there are only 2 like subpar records on this. That's Ain't No Nigga and Kashmir Thoughts, pretty much. But the rest, Coming of Age is just average. That's what I look at. It's just an average record in the context of the whole 14.
Jay-Z didn't do the Friend of Four beats justice, so the song annoys me. Because I'm thinking that, why isn't he rapping?
Okay, this is what I argue. Just so you're saying, oh, it's not a classic, like, well, you're thinking it's not a classic. Just the way you feel about that is the way I feel about, I don't know, Raising Hell by Run DMC. It's tricky. Walk this way. Like, that shit is trash to me. But I could understand why it's a classic. Same thing with like Curtis Blow. You know, basketball is my favorite sport. I love to go up and dribble down the court. You know, like it is what it is. Like it's dope then, and it's a classic. But that doesn't mean I don't mess with it. So maybe that's just how you feel in reference to these tracks. But overall, though, just in the landscape of this mafiosa rap subgenre thing, like, this is arguably the best. This is the best it has to offer. Like, this album is one of the quintessential listenings you can have when it comes to just hip hop. Reasonable Doubt.
No. Give me a break.
It is, bro. Bro, that's fact. That's consensus. That's actually consensus, bro.
I don't care what the consensus.
How was it not?
This is a really good album. Okay, this is as I said again, this is my favorite personal Jay-Z album. And this is like what I call a really good album. And every time I listen to this album, I'm like, you know, there are songs I skip, but there are some extremely high songs. This is not. Don't even dare. Don't you dare put this on the same level as Illmatic.
Stop comparing everything to Illmatic.
It is comparable to Illmatic. Just
no, guys.
Not comparable.
Let's be real. And this is why last week I tried to give the analogy of like there are varying levels to things. Like, if we compare every rap album that's ever been released to Illmatic will be the only classic because nothing will touch it. So we have to be broader in our definition of what is classic. If your reasoning for this album isn't classic is it's not Illmatic, then no other album in hip hop can be classic because nothing is that.
Okay, let me respond.
I asked a question though.
So we have to have a broader definition of classic.
Apart from Illmatic and Reasonable Doubt that we've talked about, just name me 2 classics to you. Like in this,
Wait, rap albums.
Yeah.
Yes.
Off the top of my head, Beats, Rhymes, and Life, Doggy Style.
Okay, fair enough. But see, Beats, Rhymes with Life, it doesn't have the consensus, like opinion that it's classic compared to like
Midnight Marauders or Low End Theory. Like people will put Low End Theory, People's Instinctive Travels, and Midnight Marauders over Beats, Rhymes, and Life 99 times out of 100.
No, but
what's classic to you doesn't necessarily mean that's classic for everyone.
Well, basically, I just took issue with Tosi saying that this is quintessential.
It is.
Is
Jay-Z not a big part of hip hop? What is Jay-Z? What is the record that shows the essence of who Jay-Z is?
You see, for me, Jay-Z,
like it's this album. So yeah, it's quintessential.
Wait, let me land. See, Jay-Z for me is about discography, and this guy has easily the best discography of any rapper in history. So it's about, this was a guy where you need to look at his length and breadth of work. When I listen to this album, as we have said again, the first half is amazing, top quality, amazing rapping, decent production, and so forth. You can't, forget about, let's not even mention Illmatic and anything. Let's look at this album as in and of itself. Coming of Age, Cashmere Thoughts, Ain't No Nigga, Arguably Friend of Four, I'm Sorry, brings the album down. Because if, let's say, you just gave me 2 semi-tracks of a 15-track album or a 14-track album, I'm like, okay, I can get it. I can't. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 tracks. You could maybe say 3 at minimum. Man. And also remember, they're not like product. They come back to back to back. So it's a lull. It's a noticeable lull.
You can't let perfect be the enemy of great. So the album is not perfect. It has flaws. Like, this is 100% factual. Like, what you're saying is not wrong. But just because something isn't perfect doesn't mean it's not great. So when Tosin says it's essential listening, what he said before was this is the quintessential mafioso New York rap album. Like, it's in the conversation with Only Built for Cuban Links, with It Was Written. Like, you have to include it in that essential listening. So because the album isn't perfect doesn't mean it's not classic. And we have to consider. Oh, go ahead. I'll let you go.
Oh no! Sorry, because I cut you off. Finish.
No, please go. It's okay.
No, but it's funny though. Oh, sorry.
My thing is that because I listened to this before this, I listened to the album probably about 2-3 times, and I just wanted to say, how do I feel listening to this as a whole? And which is why I started off by saying that, because again, when I look at an album and everything, I take everything into account, and the 3 elements I take into account are rapping skill, rapping content, quality of production, and as an extra one, your track listing. So the tone, the pace, and the rhythm of the tracks.
Okay.
And for me, the thing that jumped out at me more than anything was Jay-Z's quality of rap. And I think his content sometimes goes over people's heads, and that's where you have to maybe listen a bit more about his content. But I think his rapping style, because it's so good and so skillful and his wordplay is so amazing, that's the thing that really jumps out a lot more than the production and so forth. So when I just look at this album as a whole, I'm like, and I'm listening through it, it's not an album I can listen to again multiple times. And it's an album in which I will listen to 1-2 tracks, skip a few tracks here and there. So when I look back at it, I have to say it's an amazing album. A classic. You see, I pause. I can't definitely say no, but calling it a classic, I just pause for thought. But I will definitely say it's an amazing album. For sure, it's an amazing album.
Okay, but Double H, can you agree that classic albums aren't perfect always?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like last week, I was talking about Nevermind, like by Nirvana. Like that's a different genre, but there's some terrible tracks in there. Like it's it's you know what I'm saying, but it's a classic. It's
but I can only go based off listening to the album as a whole. And when I listen to it as a whole, and I've listened to the album from track 1 to track 14, and I think on it, I'm like, yeah, that's an amazing album. But I don't get the feeling of like, man, that was a classic.
Do you know what we need to do? Do you know what we need to do that we didn't do last week? And maybe I'll ask the question here. If you had to rate Illmatic out of 10, and we'll have to do this every episode from now on. If you had to
we should
rank...
also... Okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that we should also mention our favorite tracks after when we're done.
Yeah.
We didn't do that for Illmatic.
Definitely like tracks, like top 3 tracks you should download or something like that. So Have Hope, I'm gonna start with you. If you had to give Illmatic a score out of 10, what would you give it?
10.
Tosin, what would you give Illmatic?
10, yeah. It's a perfect album.
And I would give it a 10 as well. So we're all giving Illmatic a 10. So that's 30 out of 30.
Yep.
And individually, we all give it a 10. So Have Hope, if you had to give Reasonable Doubt, which I'm making you, so if you give Reasonable Doubt a rating out of 10.
8.
8. And no 0.5s. We don't do that 0.5 line. No 0.5 because that's a cop out. Pick a number.
Really?
Only integers.
Dang.
You gotta pick a number, man. I'm making you make tough decisions.
I was going to say 9.5, man. If I'm gonna round that,
chill out with that. No, it's either 9 or 10.
Give it a number, man. Give a number, bro. Give a number.
10. It's a 10.
10.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a different type. It's a different type of 10, but it's a 10. It's a 10,
okay.
Bro. This is the highest of this. This is what I.
Hey, Have Hope. That is Tosin's opinion. Let him have it. Okay. Have Hope. What was your number again?
8.
8. And I'm a 9. So, see, now I'm having to do quick math, and I'm not good at that. So that's 27 out of 30. So, that's not bad. That's not bad. 8.
So basically, we gave Illmatic an A+. Reasonable Doubt getting an A-. It is
pretty
what
much.
It is.
Now, I would say that anything below an 8, you're saying it's not classic. If it's a 9 or a 10, I would say you're probably saying it's classic. 8, maybe borderline, and 7 and below can't be classic. So Have Hope, when you say 8, I'm assuming that's borderline. Like it could be, it is on some days. Today it isn't. Today it isn't. On another day it might be.
Yeah.
So for Tosin and I, it's clearly a classic. So
when I first listened to Reasonable Doubt, I was like, yeah, man, this is the classic. But listening to it again more and more, I was like, See, for other albums, I can turn on like a Doggy Style, a Beats Rhymes in Life, maybe even a Ready to Die. I can turn on all these albums and I'm like, yeah, man, these albums are just as amazing as they were when I first listened to them. The second time I listened to them, the 5th time I listened to them, the 20th time I listened to them. And each pick, anytime, I still get the same emotions listening to them. So that's why I say, no, it has to be a classic because anytime I listen to whether it's this year, next year, 5 years, 4 years ago, I still get the same emotions. But the emotions I had when I first listened to Reasonable Doubt was, this is a classic. But the emotions I have now listened to Reasonable Doubt is, no, it's a very good album. That's a borderline classic.
All right. So, Illmatic, 30 out of 30. I'm just writing this down now. Reasonable Doubt, 27 out of 30.
Yo, honestly, I was also going to say, man, like one of the biggest regrets of this album that I just have is the fact that Nas and AZ weren't on Bring It On. And Sauce Money still went in, but Nas and AZ, they were supposed to be in the studio for it, and Dame was mad at them for not coming through. Wow. So yeah, man, if we got the Nas and AZ on Bring It On, we'd be talking about that. Oh
yeah, that'd be a very different.
But if they're on that song together, do we get Ether Takeover? Do we get that whole beef? If they have that, we don't.
Exactly. That was the genesis of the beef.
Exactly. Yep. So, yeah. So I'm kind of glad we did it. So,
okay. So basically, final thoughts. I mean, impact. How do you think this album sort of impacted the hip hop industry, rapping, and the rap game, and impacted?
That's a big question because impact is hard to judge because I don't think anybody in 1996 knew exactly what Jay-Z was going to turn into by the time we get into 98, 99, 2000. As we said at the beginning of the show, like this came out with AT Aliens, all those. It was written. There were just so many albums that came out in 96. like I can't even really think of them. But like if you go and look up like rap albums from '96, there's like some heavy hitters. And this album only went gold. I don't think it went platinum for a long time, which in the era of like everyone's buying CDs,
it was bootlegged,
right?
Like Nas didn't go platinum till 10 years after Illmatic dropped. You know, it happens.
Right. Yeah. So the impact on rap is interesting because I think we have to look at it through the prism of once Jay-Z gets hot and people go back and listen to it, that's really when Reasonable Doubt was classic. It's kind of revisionist history once Jay-Z becomes who Jay-Z is, or Jay-Z became who Jay-Z is. I'm not exactly sure the tense is right there, but like at the time, I don't think this might have had the cultural gravitas that it does today, because Biggie wasn't dead, Pac wasn't dead. Like this is coming out in a time where Jay-Z's more of an afterthought, or not an afterthought, but just he isn't famous yet. This is his debut. By the time he gets famous and becomes who he is, then people go back, and I feel like I'm speaking in circles. So you guys surely get the point.
For me, like Reasonable Doubt is like an existentialist take on, by existential I mean like that word started being paraded about like in the post-war period as this life of absurdity and just being a responsible agent, trying to developing yourself and doing things through your own will. So that was pretty much what this album was. Like it was an existentialist take on the street life. And Jay did it so eloquently and just in just an articulate way, to the point where, like he says it himself, this is the most wordy album he's ever done. And because he has so much to say. And this album, it establishes Jay as that voice of the crack generation, you know? That guy who, you know, he grew up, like, remember in American Gangster, in that record, Blue Magic, he says, niggas want to bring the 80s back. That's okay with me. That's where they made me at. Like, that's where he was. Like, that's where all his experiences, all his life experiences, you know, for 25, 26 years, he put that all together. And that's the difference with Nas, where Nas is rapping from different perspectives. Jay is rapping about real life, things he really went through. Yeah, man, just overall, like this album is, like Killer Mike said, man, it's Shakespearean, man. It's a Shakespearean style of the street life. Like it's humanizing the hustler, you know?
I was just about to say that, man. I was just about to say, like, a lot of people see drug dealers as like, oh, they must be like stupid and broke and this and that. Like, maybe not broke, but just like idiots. Why would they be out there doing drugs or selling drugs and making their community bad? Like, they just must be idiots. But then when you hear somebody have the eloquence and the forethought and just the surgical precision of someone like Jay-Z, who's able to put pen to paper, but he doesn't even do that. He's so smart. He can just come up with these bars out of thin air. It seems like you have to actually reconsider all of the notions that you have about who are these drug dealers, why are they doing what they do, because someone can eloquently put it like this. It gives you like, it's not as cut and dry, it's not as black and white as good bad. There's thought processes behind everything that's going on. So I think that's maybe the lasting legacy for me, is kind of rethinking the way I see people who do badness. And I think that's
interesting.
important.
Yeah. And he talks about, even on that Regrets, you know, like I'm a killer on the outside, but on the inside, you know, like I shouldn't be doing this, you know, like.
But again, but also it's also interesting, especially from someone like me, like Tosin alluded to. Like, I don't come from I don't live in the hood or anything like that. Like, I've never really lived that experience in terms of where I can remember it, and it was never going to be as bad as Marcy Projects in Brooklyn. So to hear that experience, I'm sure other people, as you say, like they hear Reasonable Doubt and it's like the hustler's Bible or whatever it is. I don't really have that lived experience, so to hear it and it be illuminated for me in that way, I think that's really important. And there are other records, which I'm sure we'll get to, that do similar things. But yeah, so have hope you can take it.
So basically, just to round off before we say adios, I just think why this stands out, and I think the impact that this had I just think pretty much from what you guys just said, just piggybacking off what you just guys said, is it's very easy to talk about the hustler's life and growing up in the hood. And if you don't have that experience, very hard to understand where the person is coming from. But the way that Jay-Z does it in a very eloquent, intellectual, illuminating way, as and I think is what even Sosin said, is that he really paints a picture because it's very poetic and Shakespearean and very intellectual, how he's just able to use the words just to paint this picture of a world that we have not really experienced the way that he's pretty much experienced it. And I just think that as far as a debut goes, this was just the introduction of a new kind of rapper where, yeah, we've heard rappers talk about the hood and hustle and everything, but not to the kind of density and way in which Jay-Z was coming at it, because he was coming at it from a very creative kind of way. So even if he's just saying stuff that's maybe on, when you break it down and deconstruct it on face value, it's like, oh yeah, this is just how I was selling drugs. This is just how this guy was shot. But the way he's saying it is filled with so many different kinds of words and coming at so many different kinds of angles that you're given a very enriched explanation of something that's a very simple, if you were to view it like in a documentary or in an episode of The Wire or so forth. So I just think so. Yeah. So when you just really listen to the album as a whole and everything, like, man, now this is just beyond just being a skilled rapper with regards to the mechanics of rapping and rhyming and words and syllables and everything. It's just the ability of the man to execute and tell a story in an effective way. Because almost every rapper has a story to tell. Everyone does. It's how you tell it and how effective do you tell it, and can you tell it in a way that is still keeping musical. So you have to balance the whole thing of keeping it musical, keeping it on beat, keeping the rhythm, but saying what you need to say and make sure people understand what you need to say, and you hit those key points while also making it a good musical track that people can connect to on a musical level. So, and yeah, that, my friends, is reasonable dude.
Oh, should we say our 3 favorite tracks?
Okay. 3 favorite. Okay, Tosi, you start sort of your 3 favorite tracks.
Man, off top, Dead Presidents, Can I Live, and Can't Knock the Hustle.
Okay.
Danny T?
This is tough.
It's really tough, man. I don't even know if the 3 I mentioned are the ones I wanted,
This is tough. Can I Live, Dead Presidents 2, and I'm torn between Feeling It and The Evils, but I got to give it to The Evils, man. Even though I love Feeling It. That's tough, man. That's like picking between children. I don't have children, but
it's
like
pick a child.
So yeah, I would say Dead Presidents 2, Can I Live, and The Evils.
For me, Dead Presidents 2, The Evils. This is tough. You see, for me, I would say 22 Twos. I wouldn't really call it a track, but that's like my bonus man, because not really a track, it's just a display of skill. So give it a special mention. But just for tracks,
it's a track.
I would say
he's trying to
Dead Presidents 2, The Evils, and Regrets.
Ooh, okay.
Good pick, yeah.
Bro, when he's 95 is how you survive. I ain't trying to survive. I'm trying to live it to the limit and love it a lot. Oh, that's just...
Yo, Dennis, bring out your rap album, man. When's your rap album coming out, bro?
Sorry.
Yo, on this podcast, we're going to be doing a lot of rapping on this podcast.
I just one last thing. Can we tell the people what album we're gonna do next week? That way they can listen to it with us. And we're not like jumping on there with it. So can we decide what album we're gonna do now?
So our next album that we'll be doing, that's you guys can be listening to before the episode, will be
Lupe Fiasco, Food and Liquor.
All right, there it is, Lupe Fiasco, Food and Liquor. So we'll see you guys here again next week. So before next week's episode drops, just make sure that you are also well versed in Food and Liquor by Lupe Fiasco, and we'll be back here to critique the album as we well do and give it our thoughts. Guys, from myself, your boy Danny T, your boy 2 to the Tosin, peace out, stay true, stay black, stay real. Peace.
Peace.